When it comes to corporate governance and disclosure, Asian firms are upping their game, but there's still much room for improvement. The head of the Asian Corporate Governance Association says standards are more robust in most Asian countries now than they were 10 to 15 years ago. And as he tracks the progress, Jamie Allen says he's seeing another trend, this time on the part of investors.
One theme is that investors are wanting more information from companies about governance, but they don't just want boilerplate disclosure. They want actually real information from companies. Also, many investors, particularly institutions, are looking much more at environmental and social disclosure and risks these days.
Still, he says large parts of the corporate sector don't have this incentive to improve.
They don't have shareholders who engage with them, who pressure them. They aren't followed by analysts, by brokers. So there's really very little market discipline on large sectors of the listed company sector.
Allen was speaking at a forum on the latest Singapore Governance and Transparency Index. The 2012 index gives Singapore exchange-listed companies their highest mean score since the index was launched in 2009. Professor Lawrence Lowe of the NUS Business School Center for Governance, Institutions and Organizations says this represents a turnaround after 3 years of declines.
Perhaps the standard of corporate governance has turned around the corner, and it seems to be on the start of an upward trend. I think this augurs well very much for companies and for the systems as well as the policy in Singapore.
The index is a collaboration between CGIO, CPA Australia and the Business Times. Singtel topped the list for the 4th year running. Its score has improved over the years, and the other companies at the top of the list are getting better as well. Keynote speaker Josephine Teo, Singapore's Minister of State for Finance and Transport, encouraged the organizations to think beyond controls and processes in pursuing good corporate governance.
I believe that, in fact, a more long-lasting assurance for an organization is a culture where every member feels a strong sense of duty of care. A culture where duty of care permeates the whole organization can be a powerful safeguard against gaps in governance that are yet to be uncovered or filled.
The forum was held just before the Singapore government issued its revised Code of Corporate Governance. The final revision does not include one early recommendation, specific term limits for independent directors. Panelists discussing the revisions applauded that. David Smith, the head of corporate governance at Aberdeen Asset Management Asia, says there are better ways to judge independence.
One of the other things we look at is whether the independent director has served on the board concurrently with an executive director, CFO, for example, where you've had 4 people, for example, 2 executives, 2 independents, who've served on the same board for 15, 20 years, for example. That's when you can start to get a little concerned about groupthink on the board.
The panelists also cautioned against directors serving on too many boards, but Andy Lim, the chairman of Viking Offshore and Marine, said publicity has proven to be a good self-regulatory mechanism for that.
But I think what Business Times has done very well is every year is to publish the top 10 directors who have multiple boards. And I find that immediately after that, a few of them will start to step down because they don't want to be in that list next year.
Other panelists said there's a limited pool of potential independent directors in Singapore, but the pool is growing. For NUS Business School, I'm Katie Sargent.